How what's up, y'all? It's Poppin' is D. Bust your to this vid by Hip Hop Madness. This is why Andre 3000 sabotaged his career on purpose. What in the hell? Okay, we're gonna get the tea on this situation. It seems I have no idea why he would sabotage his own career. I do know there was something going on with Outkast and they like broke up, but then they had like separate careers, and then they just stopped doing music out of nowhere. So I always wondered what the hell happened with that, but I guess Andre sabotaged some shit. Let's see what happened. Let's watch.
I haven't been making much music, man. My focus is not there. My confidence is not there. Oh. I tinker a lot. Like I'll just go to a piano and I'll set my iPhone down and just record what I'm doing. Move my fingers around and whatever happens. But I hadn't been motivated to do a serious project. I'd like to, but it's just not coming.
Throughout history, the notion that what goes up must come down has always been true. From sports icons to politicians, actors, and authors, the idea that one day you'll be unable to captivate the world as you once did finds new case studies on a daily basis. And rather than being an exception, hip-hop is a culture in which the rate at which that sheen disappears is on an accelerated timeline. While greatness is most achievable in the short term, it's difficult to sustain. Across generations and various waves of the genre, a fine line has existed between becoming a legend and ending up as a shadow of your former self. Taken from performing to seas of people in arenas to the diminished returns of the nostalgia circuit, there's a case to be made for your reputation in hip-hop coming down to whether you've outstayed your welcome or not. But while some of the game's biggest rappers have tried to stand in defiance of the clock and occasionally stumbled as a result, today's story is of a man who was chosen to hold any dreams of reclaiming his spot at a safe distance, and has basically done the unthinkable in many people's eyes. Of course, we're talking about the one, the only, Andre 3000. Ask anyone in hip-hop circles about Andre Benjamin, better known by the name of Outkast's Andre 3000, and you're more than likely to hear them discuss his position among the greatest rappers to ever grasp a mic. From Travis Scott to Future and Childish Gambino, his influence and the respect that he commands is more universal than practically anyone still breathing. Armed with unparalleled lyrical wit and a dizzying repertoire of flows, Andre 3000 is the rapper's rapper. So much so that when today's consensus king of bars, Kendrick Lamar, was preparing to unveil Good Kid, Mad City, getting 3 Stacks' seal of approval was something that he actively sought out.
He's one of the first person I played down for. Means everything, man. Just like the fact, I've been a fan since day one. So for him to say that I'm continuing, the legacy and the culture of just, the art, hip hop and making a body of work that stands out and actually means something at the end of the day, it's a very huge, accomplishment for me, confirmation of success.
Revered as one of the all-time greats, Andre's astonishing work alongside Big Boy across Outkast's 6 studio albums is almost unequaled. But no matter how much the world may thirst for another full-length project from 3K, it's been anything but forthcoming. Today, if you head on to the This Is Andre 3000 playlist on Spotify, you'll find nothing but tracks taken from other artists' catalogs. Instead of bringing us a whole new vision of his own, Andre effectively works like a session musician in the jazz world, lending his own unmistakable sound to a lucky few. At this stage, it's no stretch to say that Andre is so universally beloved that a single verse from him can command more analysis than another artist's entire project. But despite the audience's appetite for new music and Big Boy teasing the world with the promise that there's a lot of unreleased music from Outkast, Andre continues to forfeit the global audience that would exist for one solo album from him. Instead, he's more liable to turn up to an open mic night with a flute than he is to book a studio session. And when he does so, it's without any of the airs and graces that you might expect from a superstar of his stature. Coolest thing ever tonight, said Instagram user Lil Summy back in July of 2021. I went to an open mic night event at a park and saw someone with a unique looking double flute. I commented on how cool it looked and chatted with a super nice, chill dude for a minute before going to sit in the grass. It wasn't until after I'd say that someone whispered to me, "You know who that is, right?" It was Andre 3000. He stayed and hung out for the entire show and cheered for every person who performed. Was really hoping to get to hear him play, but his humbleness only made me love him even more. What a sweet dude. A singular being within the hip-hop space, Andre's quirkiness and inability to heed the world's calls for him to provide what they asked for has spawned plenty of parody over time. But where others see missed opportunity, Andre sees a dangerous road. Speaking to Rick Rubin on his Broken Record podcast, 3 Stacks elaborated on why he takes this approach.
I haven't been making much music, man. My focus is not there. My confidence is not there. I tinker a lot. Like I'll just go to a piano and I'll sit. I hadn't been motivated to do a serious project. I'd like to, but it's just not coming.
As for 3 Stacks, the praise that other artists lavish on him doesn't matter when he doesn't feel it internally. And beyond that, it also fulfills his need to push against expectations in the way that himself and Big Boy once did so boldly during their heyday of their iconic group.
I'm trying to figure out where do I where do I sit? I don't even know what I am, and maybe I'm nothing. Maybe, my history is kind of handicapping in a way.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to find out what makes me feel the best right now.
Yes.
And what makes me feel the best is when I just do these random kind of instrumental kind of things. They make me feel the most rebellious. I don't like to go with the flow, really. I don't know why.
Yes.
But I just feel best when I don't. I have to honor that in a way,
Over the years, Andre's relationship with the art form that brought him worldwide acclaim has warped and evolved in ways that others may not consider. Speaking to GQ in 2018, Andre revealed that music was no longer providing the solace and satisfaction that it once was, leaving him scrambling for something to fill the void. You can't run from it, especially when you stop being at your height and you can't match that energy. So you try to find other ways to match it, and you really can't. And then you have all these ideas and then forget them. So I need to just get out of here. That's the same thing that the Hendrix movie, 2013's Jimmy, Always by My Side, did for me. I was in a hole, and then I got the offer. I was like, you know what? I need to be around people. I was in a creative hole, a personal hole, and I was still not dealing with my mom's and father's deaths. And really, I don't know if I still had it. Left feeling as though he'd been stripped of the vitality that had once made every syllable unmissable, Andre's personal life has clearly intervened in a way that has made him doubt himself. But with a man as complex as 3 Stacks, there's no one definitive answer as to why he left any aspirations of making a solo album on the shelf. In a rare on-camera interview, Andre fielded the usual question of why he restrains himself from releasing an album. And this time, his answer was a little different.
Even just the origin of the word hip-hop. First, you have to be hip, and the older you get further away from the hipness. I mean, you can know what's going on, but there's always new slang, there's always new rhythms, new patterns, all that kind of stuff. Once you start trying to imitate that thing, I mean, people see it, man, and it becomes embarrassing at a point. This is just my personal opinion. Like, I just feel like I wouldn't have much to offer to the game after a certain point. It's like being a boxer. I've seen my heroes not be as cool. And it's not that they're not as good as they were when they started. It's just the world progressed. The world actually took them in and learned everything they're doing and spit it back out in a whole new way. So it's like, it's beyond you at this point.
Rather than sitting on his hands in the years since Outkast disbanded, Andre has been busy in his own way, pursuing the things that have inspired him. And along the way, he has had failures. Most notably, his Benjamin Bixby clothing line. Launched in 2008, Andre's high-end fashion debut was a passion project that he followed in a way that fans wish he would look more at music in modern times. But as he revealed at ComplexCon, it was a flop. But for Andre, there was still joy to be taken from the process of its creation. I knew the next time I got into fashion or design, after Outkast's clothing line, it'd be something I really loved, 3000 said according to W Magazine. The reason I took that route was because hip-hop had this image of, we don't wear these type of things, and I knew we wore different clothes. So Benjamin Bixby was my personal way of trying to say, this is how we do it. The clothes I was trying to make were all my sketches and designs. I was like, let me take this. Let me not get an investor. So all of it was me, my own money. Unfortunately, I lost millions, to be honest. It was an expensive lesson, but I could tell you, it was the best times, the best lessons in my life about myself and creating things. Where others would weep for the funds that were lost, Andre still holds fond memories of the process of doing what he wanted. Just as he does with his canceled cartoon, Class of 3000. Created in 2006 as the dust began to settle on Outkast, this Cartoon Network show was something that 3 Stacks devoted real time and effort into as he told the tale of music teacher Sonny Bridges and his class. Yet while it might have been canceled in short order and resulted in a lengthy plagiarism lawsuit, to Andre, it still represented a resounding success to him. That's the coolest thing about the show, he told The Undefeated. I've had a blessed career. I've had the Isley Brothers' career. They came up from the 50s and survived through the 90s. Kids know them from different eras. Some kids know early Outkast. Some kids know Hey Ya singing. And some kids know Class of 3000. So when I hear a kid who knows nothing about rapping, knows nothing about the Source Awards, but who knows me from the show, it just shows you that you don't have to stop. You don't have to rest on what you've done in the past. It's beautiful. Through both of these tales of public misadventure but personal triumph, we see one of the most important aspects of Andre's makeup as an artist and as a person, which goes a long way to explaining why he's chosen to turn down a legendary post-Outkast rap career. Simply put, he isn't fixated on acclaim, and instead puts his stock into the importance of the work in whatever form it arrives. By doing so, he can't and won't make concessions to the commercialism or streamlined rollouts in the way that other rappers do. So when Kanye decided that Donda would be a clean album, Andre wouldn't compromise his vision just to appear on one of the biggest albums of the year. Likewise, where fans would have been crying out to hear from 3 Stacks at a time of strife, and others were compiling the soundtrack of the Black Lives Matter movement in real time, Andre opted for a different medium, and distilled his anger into a new line of t-shirts efforts and donated 100% of the proceeds to the cause. Derived from the jumpsuits that he wore during Outkast's short-lived reunion in 2014, Andre has spoken of how these items of clothing were a response to feeling like a sellout. I wanted to find something to keep myself excited each night because I didn't have new verses and new songs, and it felt weird to play old songs from 1993, he told Blackbird Spikeland. So I said, let me put these thoughts on my suits. Some were serious, some were silly, just random thoughts like me admitting to loving fruit snacks. Everyone to sit back and survey his legacy. What separates Andre from other artists in hip-hop is that he doesn't hide his idiosyncrasies, but steers into them. And by leading with his heart and inspiration, rather than his head, he's cheerfully traded in the chance at a legendary discography as a solo artist. And while absence has occasionally left him open to disrespect, you can bet that when 3 Stacks looks over his body of work across all mediums, he could proudly say that he never sacrifices integrity.
Wow, this was really cool. It was nice to hear, his perspective and why he chooses not to continue to pursue rap anymore. I totally understand what he's saying too. Like, rap changes so much. It's so different. Like, literally year to year, things change so much. So I understand him not wanting to be a part of the current climate of rap. He's just like, I don't even fit into this. Like, y'all using, different type of slang and things are so different now. Drill is really popular now. And you have these younger rappers who are really dominating, who are in like their early 20s, like 18, 19. Like, he like, what the fuck? Like, I don't fit into this space. Like, this isn't even me. Like, so I feel like he isn't inspired either. He seems like he's not really into it. And he doesn't feel like he even has a place in the current state of hip hop. And it's so funny him saying, we're hip hop, you have to be hip. And it's like, nigga, I'm in my fucking 50s. Like, I'm old. So it's like, I don't want to be rapping with these little niggas. So I get it. It makes total sense. And, if you are not inspired and you don't really, want to do it and your heart isn't into it, you can't force that shit because then it's going to be trash. And, people don't want to put out shit that they can't 100% stand behind. So I totally understand where he's coming from. But yeah, this was cool to see. And I don't feel like he sabotaged anything. The title is kind of clickbaity, but whatever. Y'all let me know what y'all thought though. Let me know what other videos you want to watch, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.